Hi everybody. My name is Matheus Hermsdorf. I'm a solution consultant by Mulesoft, and I'm here today to do a very short demo, 10 minutes, it's a flash demo about the endpoint platform from Mulesoft. Mulesoft endpoint platform is divided into three pillars. The first one is traditional SOA. The second one is SaaS integration, or integration platform as a service. And the last one is API. I'm going to talk about the last one, of course. So the last one, the API pillar, we can cover the whole life cycle of APIs. So we start with design, then we can also build, we can engage, and we can also manage and monitor. Okay, so those are the four main areas where we're going to cover. But today I'm going to talk mainly about the design. Yeah, and in the design part, we're going to talk about REMO. Yeah, you guys might be aware about different modeling language for describe your APIs, Swagger or API Blueprint. We chose to go with REMO, and there's a couple of reasons for that. But well, my favorite one is that REMO, it can be quite simple, quite human readable, but at the same time it can be also very powerful. So we can express a lot of complex in there. Okay. The other thing that we use REMO a lot as one of important characteristics that we call the design-first approach. And my background is from SOA, so I've done that for like 8 years, and I know how painful that was. And with a design-first approach, basically what we do is to put the customer or the audience, in this case the developer, up in front on your set of priorities. So we start with the developer, we start with your API description, and then we walk backward toward your integrations and applications. Okay, so having said that, let's just get the hands on, and then I can show you a little bit. Once you log in the Mule endpoint platform, this is the landing page. Okay, so what we see here is a few APIs. Okay, and what I'm going to do is to create a completely new API from scratch. And the use case here is about a bookshop. Imagine that you have you want to sell books online, and you want to create an API to just sell books and manage authors and your users. So I'm just going to call bookshop. That's my first version, and I will keep the description as simple as that. Okay. So when I hit add API, what's gonna happen is just I'm gonna create this particular API. I'm gonna land on the page where I can engage and define this API. As usual, when you demo things live, the internet doesn't really work. So let's give a few seconds. If that doesn't work, I will just switch to my other tab where I have this already in there. So never mind. Let's go here first, and meanwhile, if this loads, well, already exists. Okay, let's go Nordic Bookshop version 1. My description. And I'm gonna click only once, and we wait. So like I said, once that works, I'm gonna land on the page, and one of the options in this page is to actually create your definition. And once you click on create definition, you're gonna open like API designer editor. Oh, here it goes. You just have to give a little bit of time. Tempting to click cancel here. So maximize this. So what we see here is a few options. First, I can define my REMO. I can engage and create an API portal for that. And then I can create, for instance, a proxy or gateway for the runtime of the API. What I'm going to do is to define my API design. And what's going on with the internet? Okay, so once you click here, what's going to happen is that I'm going to open like API design console, and the API design console is going to give me a very empty canvas where I have pretty much like the version of the REMO, the base URI, and the version that I'm using. So if I start to create, the first thing when you think about API is to think about your resources. So the way that I create resources is simply by type the name of the resource. So I can say books, the other one would be authors, and the next one could be my users, okay? So basically those are the three resources that I'm going to use for my API, okay? As you see, I have like a context-based editor here. So down here, I have a few options that I can specify if I want. So if I navigate throughout my context here on my editor, I can see the different things appear on the bottom. So the second thing that I create is actually the HTTP verbs. So the first one is get. I can, say like get all the books. I can also specify, for instance, like down here, other elements if I want to, or I can go back and specify another verb. I can either type, or I just select one of these elements down here, and it adds automatically for me. So for instance, post, what I'm going to do is to create a new instance of a book, okay? I can go on and do different things for different resources, but we can go a bit further down on the example of, for instance, authors. So let's say that for author, I'm going to do like a nested resources. So I have authors, but I can have, for instance, a verb to get the author, but I can also have a nested resource to say, let's go for books. I think it makes more sense. I can create a nested resource to get the ISBN of a book. And then I say get, and then here I can say description, and here I'm going to get one of that book. So the ISBN here is just like this extra URL parameter that you specify, and then you get that particular book, not the whole collection, okay? And if you go further with REMO, what we can do is, for instance, specify, the whole thing about a good API design is that you specify as many things as possible, so it makes it very easy for the developer. So what I'm going to do here is to specify the response and how the response should look like. So if I specify here a response, and I'm going to say that if I have a successful response, I can have a response HTTP code 200. And then I'm going to say that I'm going to have a body, and that body is going to return application JSON. And then I can specify, for instance, an example. I can even specify a schema on how the JSON schema looks like. And I'm going to just copy like an example here, so I don't have to type the whole example. I'm going to move this to the side. And if you note on the right side, as I build my API specification, the right side gets updated. And basically what happens is that I can actually try this. And we have this mocking service that actually deploy that really on the gateway. So if I decided to, for instance, for this particular book, and I try a get, and then I can really try it, and based on the URI resource, I can specify something, and I say get, and the response is going to look like the example that I gave. So it makes it very easy for the developer to consume your API. I have 1 minute. There is a lot of things to show, so if you're more interested in this, just come back to me, and I can elaborate anything on that. Just as a a quick remark, I said that this can be very complex if you want. So I have an example of a very large RAML specification. So basically here, I have a whole bunch of cool elements. So for instance, schemas. Yeah? So I can reuse that in different parts of my specification. I have resource types, so it's pretty much like a type of a class. I have traits that helps you to introduce behavior. So if you want to enforce, for instance, a token to be in there, you can use that. So basically, when I create a new resource presentation, I can keep that very simple and inherit everything from what I had before, either on this file or in another file. So it can go very complex and really fully describe a complex and large API that eventually you need in your enterprise. But at the same time, it's also very human-readable. 30 seconds? If I want to go further, because that's also part of what we think is important, if you get that RAML file, you can import in our studio, which is our development platform. And basically, it's Eclipse-based tool, and we can import that particular RAML file, and then we create automatically for you all the flow services that you need to actually implement that API. Okay, so this is what I said is the whole complete life cycle of the API. After that, of course, you can deploy that, manage, and see your SLA policies and everything else. Thank you very much.